Hello everyone, welcome to today's story. The evening light slipped through wooden shutters, dust swirling in golden silence. Alex sat by the window, his reflection blurred between shadow and memory. It had been days since he found Tuna again, yet the distance between them felt wider than before. Outside, the wind brushed against the bamboo groves, whispering the questions he couldn't ask. She had left once, carrying her child in her silence. Now, she stood on the edge of returning. But was it to him, or merely to a place called home? His mother's voice echoed softly from the kitchen, the warmth of family meals filling the air. Still, nothing could ease the ache of what remained unsaid, the truth hidden beneath love's fragile calm. Don't forget to like and subscribe. The truth is just beginning to unfold. The night settled over the small town like a breath held too long. Alex sat beneath the hum of a flickering streetlight, the same one that used to guide Tuna's way home. In his hand, a letter, creased, unsigned, carrying only the faint scent of her perfume. It wasn't a confession. It was silence turned into words. At home, the air was heavy with unspoken things. His mother moved quietly, setting dinner on the table, her hands trembling slightly as though she too could feel the distance that had grown between her son and peace. His sister spoke, voice brittle with guilt. "I may have been too harsh with her," she said. "Maybe that's why she left." Alex looked up, eyes dim under the lamplight. "It's not your fault," he murmured, though the truth pressed sharp behind his ribs. Tuna had left, and he didn't know if she would ever come back. Later, the barber's clippers buzzed against the quiet of his thoughts. Each lock of hair that fell felt like another unanswered question. What if she refused to return? What if the child she carried, the child that might not be his, was the boundary neither could cross? Meanwhile, far away, Tuna sat in a small rented room. The baby stirred, its breath soft as dew. The kettle whistled, and she thought of Alex, of his patience, his tenderness, and the rain that soaked him the night he searched for her. Guilt coiled around her like smoke. When Alex's sister appeared at her door, Tuna froze. The apology came haltingly, but it came, and it broke something open in her heart. She listened, trembling, as she heard how Alex had fallen ill searching for her. That night, Tuna stood by the window, the moon resting on the bamboo roofs outside. She whispered to the dark, "I didn't leave because I stopped loving him. I left because I was afraid. Afraid of what truth might do to kindness. Afraid that love built on a lie could not survive its unveiling. But morning would come, and with it, a choice." The dawn arrived gently, gilding the bamboo groves in gold. Alex walked through the morning mist, his boots damp from the dew, his thoughts restless beneath the calm surface. Around him, the fields whispered stories of patience, of seeds that waited months before breaking the earth. He wondered if love was the same. When he finally saw Tuna again, it wasn't a grand reunion. She stood at the threshold of her small home, the child resting quietly in her arms. For a long moment, neither spoke. The distance between them was filled not by anger, but by hesitation, by all that they hadn't said. "Have you decided?" Alex's voice broke the silence, steady but laced with quiet ache. Tuna lowered her eyes. "Yes," she whispered, "I will return to the farm." Relief brushed across his face, but behind it flickered something unspoken, a need to understand. The word return meant more than coming back. It meant reopening wounds, facing memories buried in the soil of their past. As he helped her pack the few belongings, Alex's fingers brushed a folded paper tucked beneath a baby blanket. It was a hospital note, a record. The date made his heart stutter, months before they met again. He froze. For a heartbeat, the air seemed to stop moving. Tuna turned, eyes wide, fear spilling through her calm facade. "It's not what you think," she began, but her voice trembled. The world narrowed. The rustle of the trees, the baby's soft coo, the hum of morning, all blurred into silence. Alex's chest tightened, not with rage, but with disbelief, with the ache of 1,000 imagined futures collapsing into dust. He looked at her, this woman who had once smiled in the rain, who had found safety in his arms. "Tell me the truth," he whispered. Tuna's lips parted. For a moment, she seemed about to break. Then her eyes softened with surrender. "The child isn't yours." The words hung between them like fog, weightless yet crushing. She continued, her voice barely audible. "I was lost when you found me. I was carrying shame I couldn't name. You gave me a place to breathe, but I couldn't let you live under an illusion." Alex turned away, his gaze lost in the distant hills. His hands shook slightly, but his voice remained calm, almost tender. "You should have told me sooner." Tears welled in Tuna's eyes. Would it have changed anything? He didn't answer. The wind answered for him, rustling through the bamboo, neither cruel nor forgiving. When he finally spoke, it was soft, almost reverent. "Maybe not, but the truth deserved to stand between us, not behind us." The silence that followed was not empty. It was the sound of two hearts learning to exist beside a wound that words could not heal. And at that moment, everything changed. The next morning unfolded in a hush of pale sunlight. Dew gathered on the bamboo leaves, trembling like unshed tears. Alex stood by the porch, watching Tuna feed the child. Every gesture of hers, the way she cradled the baby, the way her eyes softened when she smiled, hurt and healed him all at once. He had spent the night walking through the fields, listening to the wind move through the bamboo. Each rustle reminded him of promises, some broken, some merely waiting to be remade. He thought about the truth she had told him, about how fragile trust could be, and how love, once cracked, might never be perfect again, but still could be real. When Tuna finally approached, she looked like someone ready to leave again. Her suitcase small, her courage smaller. "If my presence makes it harder, I'll go," she said, voice steady, but her eyes glistening. Alex turned toward her, the light tracing the tired lines on his face. "And if leaving makes it harder?" he asked. Tuna faltered. "You don't owe me forgiveness." He shook his head, gaze distant. "Maybe not, but I owe you understanding." They stood in silence. The air between them was fragile, like the moment before rain, like glass about to break. Alex reached out, taking the suitcase from her hand. "Stay," he whispered. "Not because I forget, but because I still care." Something inside her gave way, not in defeat, but in release. She set the bag down and stepped closer. "You shouldn't have to carry what isn't yours," she said. "Maybe love," he replied softly, "isn't about what's ours to carry. It's about what we choose not to drop." The child stirred, letting out a faint cry. Alex hesitated, then bent down, lifting the baby carefully into his arms. the warmth of its small body pressed against his chest, fragile yet undeniable. Tuna watched, her breath trembling as she saw him hold the child. Not as a burden, but as something human, alive, deserving of care. For the first time, she saw him smile, faintly, quietly, as if he'd found the courage to begin again. The day passed in quiet tasks. Together, they returned to the farm. Workers greeted them with surprised warmth, laughter blending with the rustle of the wind. The air smelled of soil and smoke, and something like hope. At dusk, Alex fixed the old wooden fence that bordered the field. Tuna joined him, holding the nails steady as he hammered. Neither spoke, but every sound of wood against wood felt like a small rebuilding of trust. When the last light began to fade, he paused and looked at her. "This fence was meant to keep things out," he said. "But maybe it's also here to remind us what we want to keep in." Her eyes glistened under the amber sky. "And what if I can't promise anything?" "Then promise only this," he said, "that you'll stay until tomorrow." The wind stirred again, softer this time, like forgiveness finding its way home. Later that night, Tuna stood by the window of the old farmhouse. The moonlight draped across the floor, touching the cradle where her baby slept. Alex's silhouette moved in the doorway, silent, calm, and humanly imperfect. In that stillness, she realized something. Love wasn't a gift she owed him, nor a debt to repay. It was the quiet permission to begin again, even when both hearts bore scars. She turned toward him. "Thank you," she whispered. "For what?" "For not turning away." Outside, the bamboo swayed, slow, forgiving, eternal. The dawn returned, soft and silver, carrying the scent of wet earth. A thin mist curled along the bamboo hills as sunlight began to spill across the fields. Alex stood near the fence he had repaired, his hands still rough with yesterday's labor, his heart quieter than it had been in months. Inside, Tuna prepared tea. The baby cooed, small fingers reaching for the drifting light. Every sound in the house, the kettle's whistle, the soft creak of the floorboards, felt alive again. There was no grand reconciliation, no promise of forever, only the quiet decision to stay for another day. And sometimes, that was enough. When she stepped outside, carrying 2 cups of steaming tea, Alex turned. Their eyes met, not as they once had, but as people who had seen the truth and chosen to remain. He took the cup from her hand, their fingers brushing, a warmth passing between them that words could not hold. "I used to think love was something we built," he said. "Now I think it's something we tend, like these fields. Some days it grows, some days it just waits." Tuna smiled faintly, and when the storms come, he looked toward the horizon where clouds were forming, distant, gentle. "Then we hold the roots. That's all we can do." A bird lifted from the bamboo grove, its wings scattering sunlight like broken glass. The sound of its flight lingered, fragile, fleeting, and free. Tuna exhaled softly, her gaze following the bird until it vanished into the light. "Maybe that's what forgiveness feels like," she said. "Not forgetting, just letting go." He nodded. Between them stretched not certainty, but peace, the kind that grows only after everything else has fallen apart. The baby's cry rose from the house, small and insistent. Tuna turned to go, but Alex reached out, fingers brushing her wrist, grounding her in the present. She looked back, and in that glance was a quiet understanding that love, once wounded, could still breathe. As the sun climbed higher, the mist dissolved, revealing the green expanse of bamboo bending toward the light. Somewhere within it, life went on, tender, flawed, enduring. Maybe love doesn't end, it just changes shape.
Alex tìm được Tuna sau những ngày dài tìm kiếm, nhưng trong lòng anh vẫn đầy nghi ngờ đứa cô mang có sự thật là của anh không. Khi sự thật được tiết lộ rằng đứa bé không mang dòng máu của anh, thế giới của họ tưởng như sụp đổ. Nhưng giữa im lặng và đau đớn, Alex chọn ở lại, không bị quanh đảng, vì dấu hiệu Tuna mang ơn, nỗi sợ dần tìm mình ra. Tình yêu không phải là sở hữu mà là lòng bao dung. Dưới ánh sáng bình minh, họ cùng nhau trở lại trang trại, nơi những vết thương chữa lành, nhưng niềm tin bắt đầu nảy mầm trở lại.